I am going to present my 5th chapter to my life story. So this one is going to involve mainly the story about going to Uluru and being directed there by Spirit and meeting David Icke, what happened in Alice Springs. Yeah, so that's really, I'm just going to focus mainly on that. I've noticed in recent videos, I've probably, and also my teachings, I probably give too much information all at once. So I'm going to try to just chill a little with this. Hey, Farid. Hi, Holly. Oh, I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so I'm going to go over my story. This is number 5 of my life story. I still have a few more to go after this. After this Uluru story, then there was the meeting of the Anunnakis and also the meeting of the Lyrans. Yeah, so that's another, yeah, probably another couple of stories there, plus bits and pieces in between. Yeah, so let's get into the story of Uluru. Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna, I also wanted to bring up to show you guys the stone that I found in the previous stories. I didn't have it here with me. The stone that I found in Kenilworth that ended up being my truth stone. So it would come in my dreams and tell me the truth of what was happening. And it broke in 2011, around the same time as the earthquakes in New Zealand, which is my hometown, my home country, sorry. So this is the stone here. Oops. And as you can see, it's a rectangle. I'm just holding it together because it is broken. One clean break, 2/3. I'll show you in a minute. So it's kind of like got a both sides of it. If I turn it around, whoops, just broke. If I turn it around, okay. If I turn it around, see, it's got like a rectangle and a rectangle, and that's the other side of it. And I did show Parisha this stone, and she said, see, it's broken, 2/3 to 1/3. Like I said, this is what they were telling me. 2/3 of humanity was going to come through. And it also used to break in my dreams, and when it did break, it was releasing telepathy and telekinesis and all those beautiful gifts. So I think that has something to do with it as well, that when it breaks, these are the gifts that are going to be released in humanity. And that did break in 2011, which I know is a while ago. But I was getting a lot of information too about telepathy and stuff like that, with working with the elder and all that, and her talking to me. You can look at previous stories of my life and what had happened. Okay, so we're going to go now to the Uluru story. It started off with a feeling, and it started off with this just, oh my God, I got to go somewhere. I don't know where I got to go, but I got to go somewhere. And I actually tried to contact Parisha around this time to go and meet with her, because I thought maybe it was like a calling to go see her. And it wasn't, that kind of roadblocked, didn't really come to anything. Excuse me, I just woke up, so I'm having my morning cup of tea. And then, Holly said her hands are tingling with energy while listening to this beautiful story. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I really was called to share all of this information so that you guys get a bearing on, there's, life's not just what we're taught in school. There's so much more to life. Anyway, I ended up also calling up a friend of mine who had a organic kind of I think it was like a resort, organic resort in Bali. I thought maybe that was where I was supposed to go, but that came to a dead end too. Anyways, I ended up just well, letting it go, but I still had this real powerful urge to travel somewhere. And I went to sleep, and first of all, I bought tickets to go see David Icke in Gold Coast. He was in Gold Coast. He was doing a tour in 2011, and he went to Melbourne, to Adelaide. I think he went to Adelaide. He went to Perth. So he went all around Australia. And I got tickets, and then, yeah, anyway, got this pull to travel, went to sleep, and I had this dream that I was on a bus, and there was 20, 30 people on this bus, and we were going to Uluru, and I'd never even thought of going to Uluru, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So there was snapshots, there's photos being taken, obviously, because we were a tour guide touring there, and I can't remember too much of that dream. I just know that I definitely was going to Uluru. And then I woke up that next morning, and I'm just waiting for my picture to catch up on me and just realizing it's not going with my voice. Is it going to come back? Yes, it did. Good. Okay. So then I went to the computer, and I just logged on my normal, to the emails, and here's this email, and it said, David Icke is going to Uluru and wants 20 or so people to choose to go with him. Just put your name in the hat kind of thing. We had to pay, but it was kind of like and I just got given quite a bit of money. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to Uluru. I just dreamt it. And here's David Icke's invitation to go there. And I had previously, in a year previous, dreamt of meeting a semi-famous person, or famous person, but not like a Hollywood star, but a famous person in the spiritual sense. Didn't put two and two together then, though. So I ended up putting my name down. I didn't know who was going to look after my girls. I was going through a bit of a messy divorce, and couldn't really ask my ex, because if I did, he'd probably say no. So I just left it up to the universe. And lo and behold, a few days later, the exact days that I wanted him to take them, he asked well before time to take them. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about the girls anymore. And then I got a phone call, and they said, you'll be going to Uluru. And I said, yeah, I know. I dreamt that I was going there. I know I'm supposed to go there. And actually, the lady that told me, I met her in the bus, and she said that my name was the first name pulled out of the hat. So really interesting synchronicities there. Any case, I took my stone, and I took the letter that Parisha gave me that about my name, of who I am. Hey, Laura. And I went to, it was actually, I was moving at the same time. So the very day before I was going to Uluru, I moved house from one town to another town. So it was pretty crazy. I just still have my boxes packed and all that. And the next day I was on a flight to go to Uluru for about 4 or 5 days or something. I can't remember. I think it was about 4 days. And we landed in Alice Springs. So when I got to Alice Springs, and I love it how Spirit does this to me. Spirit just kind of blanks my mind sometimes, where I don't hear specific details of things so that I do something else. And it happens when it's meant to happen. That's quite interesting. So I'm listening with everybody else, where to go, what to do, and grabbing my bags. I'm a little bit frazzled. I'm thinking, oh my God, how did I even get in Alice Springs with my bags? And, I'm not someone who journeys like that usually. But here I am on my own in this place with these strangers. So I'm grabbing my bags, and then everyone starts dispersing, and I'm like, oh, everyone's going, crap. Grab my bag, and I start following David Icke and the lady, because I didn't know anyone else anyway, so I didn't even know if I was supposed to follow somebody else. So I'm following David Icke and their crew to the car park, which was quite a ways away, and I'm like traveling behind, and then they all turn around when they get to the car and they see me coming up, and they're like, I think you're supposed to be going to the bus and not with us. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And David Icke goes, well, she's here now, let her come in the car. So I ended up in the car with David Icke, and we ended up getting to Alice Springs, arriving to Alice Springs earlier than everyone else in the bus. So when I got to Alice Springs, there was a what is it? We were just doing a backpackers kind of a place. It wasn't the nicest places. Okay, it's just like, you know how you get lots of bunks in a room and that sort of thing. I'm not sure. I didn't really care. I love camping and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it didn't worry me. But anyway, we get there and we're at the reception, and on the reception counter was these big, huge lizards, like quite, you know, a good 1.5 foot long lizards. And I normally would never pick up a big lizard like that, because I would have had a fear of it scratching me or, you know, maybe biting me or something, but something overcome me. And I pick up this lizard. I kind of turned into Steve Irwin. I pick up this lizard and I shove it in David Icke's face, and I'm like, David, isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? And he's like, and I'm like, oh, why is he so like that? And he's like, like, oh, it's gorgeous. Look at his face. It's just gorgeous. And he's, and I realized afterwards, like, they're trying to go through me to say, you know, be a bit, don't, you know, because David Icke isn't really into the reptilian thing, as you know, and I didn't think about it at the time, but I think Spirit was trying to say, you know, just chill about it. It's not every single reptilian is bad, you know, there are, it's not like that. It's not like every single reptilian is negative, you know, and don't be so rigid about this sort of thing. So I think that's what Spirit was trying to guide me to do. I really didn't realize it at the time. But he did sit down next to me and look at my Imagine Holding Hands book and thought it was really cool. So that was really fun. Anyway, all that aside, we end up going to sleep, and I walked into the room, and I honestly did not have a very good feeling about the place. And I trust that enough because I've had it enough happen to me. I actually told the girls, the ladies in the room, if I yell out, I've probably seen something, because I just didn't have a good feeling about the place. And it was very close to Pine Gap, Alice Springs. So I think, yeah. Anyway, I'll tell you what happened. It was not a very pleasant thing to witness, but I did go to sleep, and I woke up, and at the foot end of my bed, I saw these kind of cube boxes, black boxes, oozing out of the wall, and inside was trapped souls. And I felt terrible for them. I literally felt, I can feel it now. I just started crying. I knew that they were trapped and they were scared and they were worried. And I remember saying to them, just hang in there a little bit longer. Just hang in there a little bit longer. You will be freed. I promise you, you will be freed. Just hang in there. Yeah, it was not nice. They were doing some experiments, and I didn't know anything about any of this at the time, but I certainly felt into it that night. and not nice what they were doing under Pine Gap, around that area anyway. So just thought I'd tell you that experience. And then we got in the bus and we left. There was a few other people that didn't have very good experiences that night there either. So ended up in the bus sitting next to a man called Max Ingham. Apparently he does talks as well. He had already arranged to retrieve a talking stick at Uluru that was doing a journey, shifting the storyline or something like that. I'm pretty naive when it comes to things of Aboriginal status. So I'm just going to say it how I know it, and I don't mean to offend anybody at all. I can only tell you what I know. Anyway, he ended up leaving a day early to get this talking stick, but I did journey next to him most of the time in the bus and had a good chat. My cat's trying to come to me. And then we ended up near Uluru. I think we were like camping a couple of days just away from Uluru in these little huts. And the day before we were going to venture to Uluru, I had because I'd had this premonition of these things to come, and I'd already been told in dreams that we're to shift our minds and our imaginations to create a new story. I got up in front of the bus and told everybody, we just got to hold focus on shifting the story. I never do that sort of things. It was quite embarrassing. The bus driver actually came up to me and said, are you going to do some ceremony? I'm not happy with that. He was very involved in the Aboriginal tribes. And I said, honestly, I will not do anything that's meant to be against the Aboriginals. I'm not that sort of person. I'm following a dream. I've, met an elder. She's been here before. And he said, well, I just want to have a chat to you. So we actually went outside where there was like these rocks that were just specifically for men only, and I didn't want to do anything wrong, so I didn't go in. Everyone else went in, but I stayed back, and he was quite taken that I'd stayed back. And he sat and chatted to me about my story, and he said, he had sunglasses on, he said, I can see it in your eyes that you're telling the truth. So I'm just going to leave it there. If Uluru wants you to come, if Uluru wants you to do something, then something will happen. And if not, then nothing will happen. I said, yeah, well, that's what I'm leaving it at anyway. And we just left it at that. So at least I got, he wasn't Aboriginal, but he definitely was in the Aboriginal tribes. Anyways, yeah, so protective. And I really respect him for being that protective of the rock and all of that, which is great. He did mention a couple of times in some stories passing on the bus about reptilians and Pleiadians, and that was interesting because that's who, I was talking, I've been already had interactions with reptilians and Pleiadians already, so that was interesting. We, the night before we went to Uluru, a massive storm hit. This is when the ceremony was happening with the talking stick. And lightning struck Uluru that night. We saw it happen. And I was chatting to another guy there that was kind of keeping an eye. I didn't want to drink any alcohol. I just had this feeling of just keeping myself as pure as possible through the whole thing. I don't think I ate meat or anything like that. I think I was actually a vegetarian then for 5 years. So I wasn't eating meat at the time. Anyway, I'm not a vegetarian now, by the way, because I had another story. Yeah, I was a vegetarian then because it was 2011 and I stopped when I was 2012. So anyway, we got to close to Uluru, and it would have been about 10 minutes for the bus to come get there. And I just start crying. I could not stop crying. I just started crying, and that was so embarrassing because everyone's in the bus going, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And literally bawling my eyes out, like tears just streaming down my face. The emotions were huge. But I knew I was fine, and there's no reasonable explanation for me to cry. I wasn't sad about anything or anything. So I get off the bus, and I kind of hang back. It was just a little bit more embarrassing than anything. Didn't really know these people at that time. I was getting to know them, obviously. But I do keep to myself a bit. Anyway, we got to the mountain, and I put my hand on the mountain, and it just stopped. Tears just stopped. And I'm like, okay, well, thank God for that. I'm not going to cry through this whole trip, so that's good. I'm fine again. Seemed to have calmed me down. We walked up to a place that was where women gathered and had ceremony or something, and David put his hand on the rock and was feeling into it, and I was thinking, that's what we're supposed to do as women. So I got a group of friends together, and we put our hands on the rock, and we just chilled into it and got in a bit of a circle and felt into it a bit. And that was interesting. Then I was walking around by myself, and I started to feel that there was this pool of like portholes. Like I had already been led to a person who created the God helmet, and the God helmet was this magnetic helmet that they put on people's heads, and it would shift their consciousness. They believed that they were somewhere else. It would shift everything. And I kind of felt like there was some sort of magnetic something in the rock at certain places, and they were portholes to open up and all that. This is what I was feeling into. And just as I was feeling into that, David went up to the bus driver and said, I feel like there's magnetic that there's doorways on this rock. The bus driver said to him, come here and I'll tell you some things. And he walks off. I didn't get to hear what they were saying or speaking about. So I walked off on my own, and I was just standing there. I thought, oh, well, I knew we were going to have to leave in the afternoon because we were actually catching a flight back that afternoon. And I just spoke to the rock and said, my name is Ilana Wananahi. I am here now. If you want me to do something, then so be it. Do something, show me the way. Otherwise, we're going to leave and I'll go back. And if it's all done, whatever's supposed to have happened, so be it. And I just walked on. And then there was I walked on, and there was a path. And on the path, I saw the bus driver talking to some other people. So I went up to the bus driver. I thought I'd at least say to him, look, I've also felt that there was some portholes and stuff like that. And I had taken with me my name that was written on a piece of paper and about my journey and that from Parisha. I don't know why I did it, just took it. I always follow these kind of things. Anyway, I walked up to this man, and I didn't even get to say anything. He turned to me and he goes, oh my God, I saw a turtle in a rock. And I said, a turtle? That's interesting. I was given a name called Ilana Wananahi. Ilana Wan means turtle. And he just grabs my hand and starts taking me into the rock. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. But because you're the bus driver and you're the one that was telling me, to protect the rock, then I trust you. I trust you. I wouldn't probably go with anyone else, but I trust you. So I follow this man into the rock. We dodge and dive in a few places, and then we get to this like crevice, like two huge crevice cliffs, where the rock is split and it just goes straight up and straight along. So he kind of squeezes himself into this kind of crevice. And then he looks over, and I squeeze in after. I didn't know what we were doing. Anyway, we're there. And he looks to where we've come from. He said, can you see the turtle? And there was a rock there that was kind of the shape, but I honestly couldn't see what he was seeing. And I said, oh yeah, okay, that's cool, you know, something like that, because I didn't want to offend him, but I really didn't see I don't think I was seeing what he was seeing. But all of a sudden, we're male, female in this crevice, and I'm like, this image came of me of the Palladians putting their forehead, that they had done, I told you in a different story, they put their forehead on my forehead and started chanting. So I straight away said to him, I think we're supposed to put our foreheads on the rock and chant. I didn't know what we're supposed to chant. So he just starts doing it, and because he's doing it, I'm thinking, okay, he's in the Aboriginal tribe, I'm fine with this. I put my hands on the rock and I start doing it, and I didn't know what I was chanting. Maybe it was just the vibration of my voice, or I don't know. But what had happened was that my hands started shaking. I've never had this with any other rocks, and I've been around Mount Corlem and other rocks, but my hands started shaking. There was like this boom, like a big heartbeat, like a heartbeat going through me from the rock, and it was just woo, woo, like this, really slow, and like, holy crap, what's happening? And then all of these dreams that I'd had of this potential new earth that we could step into, all these beautiful places that I've been taken to in these dreams, came through my mind and went into the rock. And I just knew that I was giving this information from Pleiades, from these other beings, from these benevolent beings, into the rock. And then I remember thinking, I said to her, many are awakened. And she said back to me, I will help you awaken many more. And then I remember thinking, holy crap, we're going to be late for the bus, because the bus had to leave to catch the flight back, right? So there's a lot of other people waiting. So I'm the sort of person that, even though things, because I've had so many things happen to me, I can kind of flip in and out of these dimensional spaces fairly easy. Anyway, I turned to the guy that's next to me, thinking he's, you know, the bus driver, and I said to him, we got to go. And he was literally reaching into the crevice, like into the gap between the crevices. But he's going, oh my God, none of it's real, none of it's real. And he turns his face to me, and his pupils of his eyes were drugged. He'd never taken any drugs, but they looked like they were drugged. Like his pupils of his eyes were huge. And I'm like, oh, you're not with us. He's just going, oh my God, none of it's real. It's just going off. So I sort of lead him out, and I thought, we've got to get back. We've got to get back to the bus, mate. And he's like, yeah, I know. So we get to the footpath that I met him at, and as soon as I put my foot on the footpath, I realized the man I followed into the rock was not the man I thought. It was not the bus driver. So Spirit had done it to me again. I would not have followed that man, honestly, because I wanted to respect, and I did say to Uluru, out of respect of the Aboriginal people. But we'd done it now, and apparently the bus driver was back at the bus going, they've gone in the rock, spinning off. So I felt pretty bad about that. But it had done whatever was supposed to happen, and he did tell me that if the rock called me, it would call me, and so it did, and that's how it happened. No disrespect to any Aboriginals and all that they've been keeping, you know, all the information that they're holding for that rock and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so we end up back at the plane. I get back to my home, and I did have a few nights there of, after that, I kept waking up thinking I was supposed to be somewhere, and I actually even got dressed once and went, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I dressing myself to go somewhere when I'm here now? It was like I was, part of myself was still back at Uluru or still somewhere else. It was really bizarre for a few days after that. So yeah, so that's my story of Uluru and the craziness of all of that. So I'll leave you with that one because I have so many other stories, but I could go into another one, American Cross and the fireflies, and I'll go through. I'll just do a quick one to American Cross because we do have a bit of time here. When I moved to Mullaney, I did that night, like the next day, the day before I went to Uluru, I moved to Mullaney. There was a beautiful forest in Mullaney called Mary Cane Cross, and it has, you're welcome, JJ Jennings. She just said thank you for sharing. Mary Cane Cross has these huge, beautiful rose gum oak trees and just like 1,000-year-old forests that they protected, which is great. There was one time, and this isn't really interesting actually, I went for a walk through Mary Cane Cross with somebody. Jennings said that she went there in December. It's such a moving place, isn't it? It is pretty full on. Okay, back to Mary Cane Cross story. I hope this doesn't diminish Mary Cane Cross story because this is a pretty freaking powerful story as well. I went for a walk through this 1,000-year-old forest with this friend, and he said, oh, there's portholes here. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's portholes here. Just in my head, I'm like, there's portholes here. And because I've had so many experiences, I walked through close to where these two gum trees were that were standing. Actually, one has fallen now. It was really bizarre what happened. I ended up stepping through something that shifted me. And when it shifted me, it's like my brain sped up, which made my body look slow. So all of a sudden, my next step I took was in slow motion that I could see with my visual eyes, because I think my mind had sped up into another frequency. And then I saw beside me, just on the ground, and it was about 2.5 feet tall. This being was on the path just in front of me to the right, and it shot past pretty quick. It was almost like a shadow form, but I could still make out the being, and it hid behind a tree, and then it looked at me, and it noticed that I saw it, and it just went, oh, it was almost like a fright of, oh my God, this person's seen me. And it went from one tree looking to another, to another, to another. It could move extremely fast. And so it raced to one tree, looked behind to see if I was still looking. No, she's still looking. And it went to another, trying to go further and further away behind these trees. And I realized I crossed over into this elemental world. And that these beings do reside in these places, but they're at a faster frequency than what humans are. So the human mind can go there, but we are, in this lower frequency. So I just wanted to share that. And also the same forest, I went there, was asked to go there with somebody who said that he was doing some crystal work at nighttime. And when we walked through the path at nighttime, we got to a certain point, and I felt like another portholey kind of place where it felt like it shifted when I went through. Nothing shifted, like I could still see everything exactly the same as what it was in the night. But all of a sudden, all of these fireflies come flying to us. Like there must have been about, hundreds of fireflies all just around us, and we kept traveling for a good 10, 15 minutes up the path, and they were just following us like they were lighting the way, and they were almost playing with me. I put my hand out and they would like fly around and then fly right up on my hand, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing, which just brought me to a beautiful place of this heightened state. It was just gorgeous. And I looked behind us in the path, no fireflies. Looked out in the forest, no fireflies. Looked in front, no fireflies. There was just this massive group of fireflies following us, leading our way. It was the most beautiful thing I've experienced in nature. I was very privileged, very lucky. So yeah, they're the two other little stories that I wanted to tell you. I might actually bring them up in the beginning of the next story again. I don't know, because I really think they're gorgeous little stories. So anyways, thank you very much for being part of this journey. This is story 5. Thank you, Franklin, for the flowers. Love them. Always love your flowers and how you make everyone laugh. It's great. Not that flowers are making me laugh, but he does some comical things as well. Yeah, so next story, I will probably be talking about Anunnaki and the visitations that I had from them. Yeah, because I know that that's jumping from one. I'll just see back in my books to see if I'm missing anything as well. I do tend to find that I miss. There's so much has happened, and they did tell me to write all this stuff down. So I've written most of it, not all of it down. Although that's why I'm recording these stories now, so that I can keep a log of some sort. Okay, love you all. Yeah, go back and listen to the start of it, JJ Jennings. Thank you. And go back to my other stories too. So I already have 4 up on YouTube. And I also do teachings with Quantum Elite on Fridays. So if you're interested in becoming a member of that, it's free. There is a paid member thing, but you don't have to. And I will be making most of my teachings in that public too, with all of the information, because I'm channeling a lot of information. I actually just got some powerful information from Source Energy again this weekend. So I'm creating a video of that information, that this is above and beyond what most people experience. I'm going to have to put something in front of this, because it's not for everybody. This is really powerful stuff that I'm going to be sharing in the next video, and I don't want to frighten anybody off their own journey or anything like that. I'm sure that whoever's supposed to see it is going to see it, but I will put a disclaimer at the beginning of this one. It's for those people that know oneness, that know that oneness exists, because I have seen Source Energy, and that will be, I have gone to Source Energy and the point of Source Energy, and it's not like I'm not learning lessons while I'm in this body as well, and how to cope with my mind and all of the blockages and stuff. I'm slowly peeling all of them away myself, but I do have this information, this wisdom that comes through quite often. So I share it with those, and some people can do more with it than what even I could do with it. So that's why I'm sharing, so that we can create this beautiful new world that we want to step into. Yeah, so go on. I have put some information down on this, but go on my Facebook. It has the classes that are coming up. I talk about telepathy and all sorts of other things. I have 2 books. I have, and I'm also do intuitive counseling. So if anyone's interested in finding out, their soul who's trying to communicate with them, the blockages that they have to try to communicate with beings, benevolent beings, and all of that. I call it intuitive counseling. I might have to shift that to name it something else. It started off that way, but it's kind of gone into another place now. So thank you very much, Holly. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Bye.